Hey guys, welcome to Homesteading Off the Grid. Today I received in the mail my 1,000 red wigglers earthworms that I ordered from Uncle Jim's Worm Farms. Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. And I'm in a bit of a predicament. I'm excited that my worms arrived. However, I wasn't expecting them for about another 10 days. He quick shipped them, which I'm very grateful for and appreciative of. However, my worm bins that I'm making for my new vermiculture project here are not ready. I got the bins, but I need to drill holes. I need to shred up newspaper, cardboard, get all kinds of stuff ready to prepare the living environment for these worms. And I'm going to do all that later, and I'm going to make a video of that because I want to show you how to do that too. I'm not going to do it now because, as you can see, we have a beautiful day and I want to get as much stuff done outside as I can. I already had plans, but this leaves me in the predicament of what do I do with my worms for now, because they're here. They've been in the mail for 3 or 4, maybe even 5 days, packed up in dried peat moss. I don't want them to die. FYI, I bought these on Amazon, 1,000 red wigglers for $30.95 plus $9 and change for shipping. So roughly $40 for 1,000 red worms. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to create a very temporary environment for them where they'll probably spend just tonight. And then tonight, after darkness falls and I've gotten all my outside chores done here on the homestead, I'll probably just get my drill and I've got lighting in the garage and lighting in the woodshed. I can make this bin later and then get the worms in there after I've done that. But for now, we've got to get them out of the bag somewhere where they're going to be a lot more comfortable, a lot more healthy, because we certainly don't want them to die waiting around while we're getting around to doing our bins. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and you can do the same thing. Here's simply a 5-gallon bucket. We filled this with very loose topsoil up to about here, as well as some old, pretty much broken down grass clippings. Give you a look inside. Just take my phone here. See, we've got dirt. I raked it up with a steel garden rake to make it as loose as possible because we don't want these worms to have to dig. They're tired, they're exhausted, and they may have lost up to 70% of their body weight in the shipping process. They haven't eaten, they've had no moisture. The peat moss has sucked the moisture out of them, and this is done this way, guys, so that they don't freeze in the winter or, believe it or not, die from heat exhaustion in the summer. So they've been shipped properly. We just need to get them in their temporary environment. We're going to add a little bit of water to help them kind of get their growth back, get their size back, and they should be just fine. So now let's open them up and see what 1,000 worms shipped in the mail looks like. This is a nice bag, by the way. I'll be able to use this for something. If I can figure out how to open it up. There we go. All right. Ooh, they're just right there. Look at this. Can you see in there? Wow, look at that. Look at them moving around, crawling around in the dirt. Isn't that something? 1,000 red wigglers getting ready to start making worm castings for us. Arguably the absolute best fertilizer for all things horticulture. I've been reading a lot and studying this vermiculture stuff, and this is one of the things that's got me excited about getting into it. I'm reading and hearing that your vegetables will actually grow 3 times as robustly if they have a lot of worm castings, which is a fancy word for worm poop in them, than if they don't. So that's why we're getting into vermiculture. And as of this recording, it's the very tail end of December. And guys, winter is a good time to do this because it gives you some gardening activities to do in the winter while you're waiting for planting season. So let's just dump them in here. I'm going to show you guys this because I think this is going to look cool. All right, I brought the bucket out into the yard for better lighting. And the gray squirrels are throwing stuff at me from my trees. That's a whole topic for another. Got some crazy gray squirrels. So let's go. 1,000 red wigglers. Look at that. It looks like the earth is moving, like the soil is moving, and that's all worms. Look at that. Ooh. I should have given you guys one of those creepy crawly warnings at the beginning of this video. But to me, guys, that looks beautiful. These guys are going to eat our leftover vegetables like our lettuce and cabbage, and they're going to poop it out and feed our vegetables. Now, guys, just here's some simple tips if you're watching this and you don't know much about vermiculture. Some foods to avoid with earthworms are citrus fruits. They're too acidic. They do like coffee grounds, but you don't want to give them too much because of the acidity. Don't feed them peppers, bell peppers, red peppers, chili peppers, none of that stuff. However, stuff like carrots, cabbage, spinach, lettuce, that stuff's perfectly okay. And then leaves, of course. You want to have like a diet of browns and greens. The browns, of course, being the leaves, the dried up leaves, and then the greens being the vegetables like the lettuce and the cabbage. So they seem to be heading south. So guys, let me get a little bit of water and let's put a little bit of water on them. Okay, so the soil that I put in here was pretty moist. We've had some rain. So I'm not going to put too much water in here. I don't have holes in the bottom of this bucket, and I don't want to drill holes in the bottom of this bucket because I'm going to use this bucket for other purposes after this. And so it's just not necessary. So I just make sure, always remember, I can always add more water, but it's harder to take some out. So I'm just going to be very conservative with how much water I give them here, but that should be sufficient. And now again, with the lighting out here, you can see our soil is only up to about right here, and that should be sufficient. I'm going to leave it at that because, like I said, I'm probably going to move by tomorrow these worms to their new permanent environment. Okay, guys, so our worms are in our bucket. This is not their permanent residence. This is just their temporary residence. But I'm sure as they've been being shipped through the mail for the last 3 or 4 days, they're probably hungry. So I'm going to give them enough food to get through the night. Of course, like I said, there's grass clippings in here on the bottom of the soil. Kind of mix it up, and there are some leaves, so they can eat that. But my gosh, if I just traveled through the mail for 3 or 4 days, I'd probably want something more than that. So I'm going to give them a little bit of cabbage. And the thing about eggshells, guys, they can eat eggshells too, but you got to make sure to crumble them up very fine, very small. Okay? Good, gives them calcium. Whatever they don't eat will stay in the soil and dissolve in the soil to give calcium to the soil too. And the whole thing about vermiculture, it's all about enriching the soil anyway. So give them a little bit more of this. Now, that's going to be enough. My chickens are eyeballing this. They want the rest. I'm sure they'll get it. Here's another tip I want to give you. Let's say whatever container you're keeping yours in temporarily isn't quite as high. These worms are not going to crawl out of here. But just to be safe, and this is something you can do, is if you don't have a container this big, is put a light somewhere up here at night, because the worms, they can sense light. They can't see, but they're sensitive to temperature and light. So if they start coming up to crawl out of your container, once they see that light, they're going to head south and go back down. So make sure that, if it's freezing where you are, you don't leave them outside where they can freeze to death. We're going to leave these. We have several rooms upstairs in our house that we keep shut up in the winter because we just don't want to heat them. We don't use them. It certainly will not get anywhere near freezing up there because the house is insulated. So I'm going to keep these up there tonight. I will put a night light above them just to be careful. I don't want to go in there tomorrow morning and have 1,000 red wigglers crawling on the floor. Mostly, I don't want my wife going in there tomorrow and seeing 1,000 red wigglers crawling on the floor. So, but anyway, we'll make sure to show you how we build our container where we're going to start our very first worm garden, so that you'll know how to do it too if you want to get into this. And then we'll transfer these suckers into their permanent residence at that time once we have that built, and we'll make sure to share that with you. So guys, thanks for being here with me for another video from Homesteading Off the Grid, and we'll see you for more next time.